Hello, welcome to our first edition of Peruse. The show will shine a light on new and exciting writers, new books that we are going to uncover, and we're going to get a chance to interview our authors. Today we're going to be joined by a brand new author. He's wrote his first book, and he's come to us today for us to discuss his book at length and to know more about him as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Bantu himself.
Thank you.
Do you want to just tell the viewers what your name is? Because it's quite a long name. It's quite a long name.
Yeah, sure, no problem. First of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here on this platform, which I really like a lot. My name is Lukuba, Kafuba, Pamphil, and Goma. These names are given to me based on my family lineage, and they have been previous, or my ancestors, or members of the family who have carried these names. So it have a lot of meaning in it. That's why I wear these names.
Okay, cool. So, Pamphil wrote this amazing book right here.
Pamphil.
Sorry, Pamphil.
That's fine.
Let me just call you Bantu. It's probably
Bantu,
easier.
yeah, very simple.
Yeah. So we are not cursed. This is the book right here. Right, we're gonna go straight into it.
Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm. Why that name? What is meant by "we are not cursed"?
Thank you. I grew up. I grew up in Congo, and not grew up. I was born there, and I left when I was 9 years old, and my time there back home before I came here, there was this perception as in black men or black people in general are under this curse, especially for me who grew up in the church. We seems to have that, and furthermore, the religious aspects of our society keep reinforcing that we are sinners and we are incapable of any goodness or anything great to appear in us because of the fact that we're under this umbrella of sin and we forever keep doing wrong as human beings. Now, when I came to the West now, in the West is even more, you feel it. You have people who even profess that they can't achieve any greatness. They can't do anything better. Men will never change. Women are this. My marriage will ever, it won't get beyond what I can ever imagine. I'll forever be in this poor situation. So this language of curse, and it seems to appear mainly here and is overwhelming our people. Some even say without even knowing. And that's why I drew the word or the title, "We Are Not Cursed," to open up a new conversation why we are not, even though there's powers around us trying to implement that we are cursed.
So did you think okay, because it's a loaded title.
I know.
Did you think to not maybe simplify it?
No, I wanted to stand on it because that word is very, in our community, for example, it's like a code in our community. Majority of where we from, our community, are people who hear this word constantly, mainly those are religious. Curse, someone said a curse in my family, in my health or in my marriage, is a curse somewhere, someone in the village did some voodoo on me. And this seems to kind of gravitate toward that all the time. Mm-hmm. So I use that in order to get their attention.
Right.
Whenever you mention curse, it brings fear, it opens people's eyes, and they just want to, okay, who's cursed? What happened? That's why I kept it that way in bold letters. We are not cursed.
Okay. So, I want to understand a little bit more about the journey of the book.
Sure, no problem.
So tell me about how you came about to creating the concept of the book.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Sorry, by that I mean what influence?
What influenced
Yeah,
me?
you had. Yeah.
What influenced me mainly is my journey in how, where I'm from, not be able to know who I was, the institution that I grew up in, such as the church, the things that I witnessed in my family, the stories that I heard, the books that I've read, especially here in the West, in the UK in particular, the things that it just didn't feel well, sit right with me, even though I lacked words to express what was I feeling that time. And as time go by, I managed to, as one grows, I start to grow and I start to read more. And I came across our history. And saying about that, it seems strange because I was supposed to be taught our history.
Before you carry on further, I
Yeah.
really just wanted to know what influenced in terms of literature.
Okay, I see. Books such as...
Or writers.
No problem. Dr. Francis, by the name Dr. Francis, she wrote a book called The ISIS Paper. The ISIS Paper explored the history of white people, which is, I was never told their history. I don't know where they come from, they just appear. And furthermore, she also balanced out with our own history, which is, it was also new to me. I always knew that we was somewhere sitting in a hunch, we were climbing trees, we were monkeys, we were just savage people. That's what I grew up with. And she really broke it down in a way where it was amazing for one to see. I never saw it that way. And that was the influence. That's what started it off for me to start doing more discovering, researching, and to find our true history, I would say.
Yeah. So, again, in the same context, tell me which 3 books shaped your writing path so far.
Sure, no problem. That and the ISIS Paper by Dr. Francis, and a message to a Black Man by Elijah Muhammad, and Malcolm X biography.
Malcolm X biography. Okay. Nothing on outside of that, because that seems very much. I know I asked for 3, but that seems very much all in the same context.
Context, yeah. I have to say,
Nothing in like
the famous.
Beano comics or anything like that.
Any what?
Beano, I know. I'm showing my age.
I missed it again.
Beano comics.
No. This Bible also had influenced me.
Okay, cool.
The Bible, yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, again on that journey. So you mentioned one writer already. Any other writers that shaped your literacy journey?
Everything I was taught in the West, Shakespeare, for instance, other books that I've read, and I can't remember the author's name, but I've read quite a few books so far, my time here on Earth. So these all just, they kind of shaped my way of thinking, or even writing, for instance.
Okay. Would you class your book? Actually, no. Let me rephrase that. What category? If I was to go into the library, for example, and I didn't know, where would I need to go in that library? What category? What section would you put this book?
Self-help.
Self-help.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. So now I want to know about the historic events that shaped the structure of forming this here book.
Sure, no problem. Let's take it back to, from 16 is where I was introduced to church institutions. I say that because that's what shaped my my perception of life growing up in a massive scale. Church itself, from 16, 17, I became an evangelical pastor. I began preaching. I left home at 18 so I can pursue this supposed calling that I thought it was at the time. And my journey from there and what I experienced, what I saw, what I witnessed, and the things I came across when I was on that journey until I was about 24. And from 24 is where I start to see reality in another angle. I always say this to people. Most time people say, "Oh, we need a change," and it come across sometimes change is coming from it's like you're turning from black to white, or from ups and down. How about from another angle to another angle? It's still a change. If you sit in, if I sit here, we're still the same stuff, but it's still a change. I made a change, but I change a perception, in the way I see things, and that's where the historical thing that shaped me mainly is from that background of me being a pastor.
Okay. You seem a very, for lack of better words, African man.
Yeah.
Would you say your journey into Pan-Africanism is the fuel to this book?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, most of the things I am discovering as a Pan-African is like I already knew these things, but it was buried in me. It was sort of oppressed. The fact that I spent my whole entire, my teenager life being very institutionalized on the biblical side of things, it oppresses whatever my ancestors has left for me, my inheritance, which is passed on by DNA, the know-how, informations that they left for me to discover. It was all in me. And now, so I knew these things already. Certain things I discover, I'm like, these things I always know, but I never understood it.
Okay.
But however, me learning about who I am as an African man and overall has also had influence on what you saw or read on this book.
So, can you explain this is the part I want you to explain, the Christianity influence, and I'm going to give you a quote.
Sure.
You say this at the back of the book.
Yeah.
I am a born again
African. Yeah.
Explain that to me.
Sure, no problem. When I was a Christian, we used that a lot. I'm a born again man. I'm a born again, meaning you went through the process of getting baptized in the water and you're now a new man. The old man died. Now, as I saw that and I wanted to capture their attentions, because I know that most of my readers they have a religious background.
Okay.
I was curtained to this kind of people. So therefore, I use that term, I'm a born-again African. And to me, I am. As being from, born African, but raised on a religious and Western mentality. And I wasn't myself. I needed to be born again.
See, what I have a problem with that is as a African woman who is very deeply into my authentic Africanism, I struggle with using that phrase, period, because the perception of born again is to be the way Christianity interprets it, or I will interpret it as a spiritual person, as if you're removing, when we talk about the Ankh, you're removing the female from conception or from birth. Because being born again as a Christian is you being baptized, as you just said. You're being baptized, but to be born, you have to be, the vessel is from a female. So you being born again as a Christian, you're removing the feminine energy from that. That's for removing the Ankh. So as an African man, I have to pull you up and fight. Why would you use that, knowing it has a detriment effect to the Ankh that you're wearing on your wrist right now?
I use that and able to cater to, again, my audience, the community where I came from. Because they'll understand it straight away, rather than someone who you have spent some time already on the field that you are now.
Do you understand by doing that you've alienated me, the community that you've entered into? Because I'm following you as a brother who is in the same light in Pan-Africanism. So this is a very loaded phrase to use for us. It's cool, it draws in the Christian, but it pulls out the spiritualist.
Not necessarily pulls out, because that's not the only thing you find in the book. Example, every community has a code, language code, you know, how they receive what and how they process things. Yeah. Now, it may not be easy for you to process, as I can see right now, but I was trying to reach out mainly, although I was trying to curtain from both sides of the party, but mainly to them, because to me, they need what I had to offer the most, rather than you, who was already in a place where I am now.
So why wouldn't it have just been simpler to write the book as yourself, not to write the book as I'm looking at him or her or them or us?
So I didn't get your question.
For example, if you were just writing the book as a neutral, well, for information's sake, like other books. For example, like if you're reading Malcolm X, it's just about Malcolm X and the way he saw things, right? You're reading that autobiography, you know that's just Malcolm X. He speaks about his opinion of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, but it's Malcolm X's point of view. But on this side, I feel like you're saying I was trying to make them feel good and I was trying to make them feel good, but at some point, as the reader, you didn't make me feel good because I felt like, well, you eliminated the very meaning of the Ankh there by using that phrase, I am a born again. Do you understand what I mean? And I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I'm very sure that I'm also very few that would have recognized that as something to be detriment to what I believe in as a spiritual African.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Once again, that had to do, it is to do with me being not being who I was as a pastor. Now, for those, there's quite a few who knew me on the light, who saw me on a big stage. Now, if I say to them again, I'm a born again African, they will understand that straight away for the fact that, wait, you was this man. What happened? Oh, I'm born again. They will understand that. Although it makes you feel, you said in our party that it makes you feel like you kind of disconnect. Why would you use it on that lie? But again, they need that the most. They need what I have to offer the most, even though you're aware. But it is a neutral thing where, but why did you say that?
Because
I was catering to them the most.
Because there's a follow-up question. I might as well ask it now. My follow-up question was, are you a practicing African spiritualist, or are you just, for lack of better words, following African spiritualist?
I'm a practice.
Because right now, it's not out of context for me to say that it's very popular to be African.
Of course not.
You know, in every sense of the word, whether it be spiritual or anything like that. And for the rest of us who have lived it, breathed it for the last, 20 years, you're hearing people say the right things, but actually in practice, because you have to remember, as you probably know if you're a practicing African, your words are curse. So what you say is cast, right? So what you say becomes. So when you're saying things like, I am a born again, primarily you should understand more than anyone that you're putting yourself in a position spiritually that you have to sort of remove yourself from.
No, not necessarily in a sense where, for instance, I can't believe you actually make me saying this. On a writing perspective of this book as a writer, it's easy to say my vibe, but I'm also trying to sell the book.
Right.
There's a business side of it, of me trying to sell to them, those who will be reading my book. It's not, to them what matters if the book is valuable or not. To those who will be reading my book, is anything of value in it.
But then doesn't that...
Hold on,
I'll attach your question. Doesn't that dumb down the authenticity of the book? Because you're saying you're milking essentially the book to draw them in. But your book should just stand on its own because the information would only apply to the seekers.
Not at all. Once again, earlier I said to you, there's a code in every community how people communicate, how they posted things. Now in some way I had to sort of respect that, able to draw them. Earlier when you said something to do with not everyone's the same. Even though I want to be blank, this is what it is. But I had to first draw them in before they understand how blank I am, even when it comes to the writing side of things. And for me to draw them on a sort of, not poetic, but to draw their attention, I will need to come across that way. Even though to us who, why can't we just say red is red and black is black? But yes, I had to filter it. Indeed, I had to do that.
At the cost of your own beliefs?
Am I what?
You filtered it at the cost of your own beliefs?
I wouldn't say at the cost of my own belief, because me personally, nothing has changed. I'm still who I am, who I know I am. Even though I pull them in, I draw them into the conversation in their language that they understand. To us, that language is foreign, but to them, it's understood. But I had to draw them in my circle. I can't put in my circle if I use what I use here. I can't put them in there. I had to put them from where they understand, from the angle that they are from.
Because let me put it in someone like,
Yeah, sure,
let me
no
explain it like a Malcolm X.
Okay.
Malcolm X, Nation of Islam, then he left, everything that happened, you know, short story version. Malcolm X then can't come and speak as he did as a pimp or as he did as the criminal. He had to leave that behind. Just because he is now Malcolm X, that's why he changed his name. Because he became a totally different person. When that autobiography was out, when he was putting his work together, when he does his speeches, he had to speak as now Malcolm X. So when you're putting your book together, I'm trying to get to understand why you wanted to, like you said, cater verbally on the book to something that you're not. Because essentially your hero, Lumumba, they didn't. They catered to who they really are, and then whoever followed.
That's the mistake I would say someone leader has made. And there's if I can use this terminology, there's a game to play here. A game, in what sense? For example, Malcolm X literally went back to where he was from, where he did all the pimping stuff. Harlem, that's what he grew up with. Even to the cost where he was working with one of the biggest gangsters they know, it's called Bumpy Johnson, working with him. But he couldn't work, for me personally, he couldn't work as Malcolm X with all the Islamic laws that he was carrying him. Because for them, that would be sort of, what's the word to say? I don't know how to say sin in the Islamic word, I forgot how to say it. It would be because you're working with someone who's impure. But he did that for the sake of the community where he wanted so he can gain them.
He did what, sorry?
He worked with a gangster or closely. They had relationship with a gangster so he can influence other gangsters.
And hang on, that's a totally different context. Malcolm X was in the journey to try and save people. You're writing a book to trying to enlighten people, right? So he was going to neighborhoods, like every other leader like him, including Elijah Muhammad. They all go to neighborhoods that are considered to have issues, like Harlem, like you mentioned, Brooklyn, all of those places had issues, lost souls, like Malcolm himself. So Malcolm, having been saved by a Muslim brother himself, in prison, he felt that was due course to go and do the same thing in the hood, in the ghetto, to save other souls. So it's not the same as writing or speaking and saying, this, I'm going to re-cater this. No, he still went to the hood and spoke like Malcolm X. There are still archives of him speaking to today, to the hood, to the females, to the male, to the children, in the same way as he did when he became Malcolm X.
Writing is not to communicate my ideas. As I write to change their perception.
Okay.
Now, in the same way Malcolm X went back to where he's from, I'm going back to, let's say, for example, Harlem. And I can't speak to those who in Harlem in a way that I speak to those who, let's say, for New York, for instance. Even the words that I will use, it may not be, for instance, when I was a pastor, I said this different, the difference between postcodes. In West London, I had to be very formal when I used to preach. But when I'm down here somewhere, let's say in Tewton, when I was in South London, in Tewton or in Wood Green, North London, the way I was communicating was also different.
Okay.
I needed that so that I can draw people in.
Right.
So some people may seem like, what are you doing? Just, no, I couldn't.
So my understanding is what you're trying to say is you're speaking their language wherever you are.
Yeah.
And that's what you're trying to bring into the book. But do you think that came across in the book?
Do I think that?
Yeah.
Yes, maybe as for yourself, who's where we're from, it may not be come across, but absolutely. For the feedback that I receive, absolutely. And another thing also is just it creates, that word itself, it creates tension. And people like tension. People somehow they just entertained by that, and that's how it draws them in.
So it was just primarily provocative.
I'll try to say to you that it was also marketing, but let's continue. It was also part of marketing.
Okay.
Bear in mind, it's just a small part of what I put on the back of my book, not what's inside.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
I've read the book.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Okay, so switch it up a little bit.
No problem.
And now I want to know the beginning of the becoming of Bantu.
Bantu, yeah.
As brief as you possibly can. Just I know you've already alluded to who you are and where you were born. but just to give us more depth so we understand you, so the next part of my questions kind of make more sense.
Sure, no problem. Okay, I'll try to be very simple as possible. The start really started, or where the spark of me gaining this identity I have now, or the one I have lost before I have now, is one day I was I was at work. I was sitting down thinking about just the whole my progression as an individual, where at the stage I am now, and it drew up on me that a question came: is where's our alphabet?
Right.
I stopped because my head started to hurt me at time. I was like, where's our alphabet? I mean, Japanese has an alphabet. Chinese have their own alphabet. Where's the Congolese alphabet? I never seen that before. That was a journey that really, led me to all this, me to be able to find all different books and start reading more and constantly to gain the knowledge that I have now. It was that, the missing of our alphabet. That's what kind of sparked it up. Of course, everything else that happened in the past, my history as a pastor, and what I experienced there, and the things that I seen, the corruptions, and all that had to do with it, but the spark of it, it was that. Me coming to realize that our alphabet is missing.
So what was your childhood like? Mom, dad, brother, sister, uncles?
Yeah, sure. I grew up in Congo, but I was born in Congo and came here when I was 10 years old. In the West, I lived with both my parents. I couldn't, because my stepdad, the one that raised me, my real dad, which is he's still back home, and I have, oh my goodness, 12 siblings, including my mom and my dad, 12 siblings. So I'm the second born.
Okay.
Of all that.
That's not uncommon.
That's not.
It's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon.
Africans are known to have multiple siblings. It's not uncommon. It's something that we do very well.
I guess so.
It's hard to find a single child in Africa.
It's, yeah, that's true. I never said that, but that's actually true.
You look at it that way.
Yeah.
You rarely have one child homes. Okay, so that's about you. I want to know a little bit more on how you've left the church in your daily practice. How did you leave? How did that come about?
I had enough of making excuses of the corruption that I saw in the whole church institutions. I had enough of justifying the things that I know are not justifiable. Okay. Furthermore, it started to not make sense anymore, and I started questioning everything, because we was raised. It's even the whole thing not to question at all.
Just to cut you off.
Yeah.
I really want to know. You said before what you're going through your mindset, but I want to know the process, the conversation you had with your minister or your pastor. I want to know the process. The talk us through.
Sure, no problem.
That conversation initially with your family, for example, how did that go down?
Okay, no problem.
That's where I'm getting at.
No problem.
Yeah.
It all began really when I started to question the authorities. Sometimes they will teach, they will tell us things to say, or give us a sort of a preaching curriculum to follow, and I'll question that. And that began to get me in trouble. Whenever I'll question something like that, you see the senior pastors will get upset. Also, I ask, why we have to ask for that sack of money constantly? Why can't I just preach for them to go home? And then you get excuses like, oh, but the church has to function, but Jesus wasn't doing that. He wasn't.
So you were literally following the Bible, where they were just sort of, it wasn't matching.
I thought, as a young minister, you're so naive to the fact that this is what I see, that's what I have to practice. And when you look at reality, it's not that. People around you are doing it also. It doesn't complete to the fullest of what as we've been instructed to do as so-called Christian.
Okay.
So I had to face that with my ministers, and I had to sometimes, even for instance, one day I was baptizing people, and then I had about 4 people that came there who'd been baptized before. No, and why you guys here, for instance? Why, what were you guys doing? Saying, oh no, Pastor, you know, lately I don't think I'm well, I've sinned, and I think I should go back again. I began stopping people from getting baptized because they never understood the concept of it. For them, if you get baptized and you probably, for instance,
You're treating it like confessions.
yeah, you stumble and then come on again and do it again. No, that's not how it works. You are going to stumble. You are going to make mistakes. But that was a symbol that you start a new life. And me and start impeding people, that also cost me trouble.
Good. But again, going back to that first conversation where you're saying to the pastor, I'm no longer going to come here anymore. You're saying to your mom, I'm no longer going to go to church on Sundays. That is really where I want to dig into.
Yeah,
the journey of self-question. I get that, because it will start with a question. And then it will manifest. You actually verbalize it. I want to know how people perceived it and how you addressed them when you were, the very close people, the priest,
first.
Everyone that was in the church and everyone that's at home.
No, first.
So I'm assuming that your family.
When I left the church institution, for example, of course I was still a so-called Christian because I don't want to impart abuses anymore. Something is wrong here, and of course you get backlash. Obviously, something's wrong with you. The devil is influencing you. You're lost, and you sort of hearing all these rumors, etc. And it was like, what you're doing, you're danger to go to hell, to burn a hellfire. And I was on my own at that time. At that time, I was still recovering. Until I made a conscious decision, I denounced these things. And I remember telling my parents about that. It was, oh my goodness, my dad was, oh no. But, he's just started getting to me, he's trying to push me again. The Bible said this, no, son, this, no. It's as if I touched something that was very sensitive to them. But it's my life. I decided what I should do with it. My parents were very furious. My mom, who don't even go to church, wanted me to stay in that institution or in a whole path that I was before. But I came to realize that they wanted me to be there because somehow it kept me out of trouble. Because most black boys get influenced to bad things, but apparently church sort of blind them from getting influence, like it did to me. But I'm growing up now. I can make my own decision. Okay,
so I know I already asked this question before, but I want to just delve into it a little bit. What spiritual practice do you partake in? Kemetic, Yoruba, or your own specific tribal one?
Oh yeah, my own tribal one.
What is that?
My parent, mainly for my Bambala.
Yeah.
Bambala, yeah.
Explain to us, what is it? Because if I say Kemet,
yeah.
Kemet, sorry, everyone knows Kemet. If I say Yoruba, everyone knows what that is. So you've just said something totally different. So for people watching, explain what that ethos is.
Yeah, no problem. Bambala's ways or spiritual access is actually influenced by Kemet.
Okay.
Because of our ancestors descended, quite a few of them descended from Egypt. Okay. When Egypt started to kind of fall down, and that's where they returned back where they originated from, which is the Congo. So Kemet is what influenced almost of the Congolese practice, spiritual practice is Kemet.
So how's it practiced in your culture? I understand the journey.
But what do you want to know? What do you want to know?
So if I was to say for myself that I'm a Luba tribe, right? But I don't follow the Luba tribe ways. I follow more the Yoruba ways. So I would be associating myself with Oshun, Ogun, and all of those kind of deities, and I will have an altar and things of that nature. So how does your practice come into it?
I know, but what do you want to know about my practice? For instance,
just give me an explanation as to how. If I'm new, I don't know, and I don't know anything about your tribe. I don't know anything about the spiritual practice.
We don't. Sure, no problem. We don't pray to a god. We don't have an invisible god in the sky. We mainly look to our ancestors for guidance, what they have done, and the things that they have left for us and how to follow. We don't get involved in, what can I say, we use our own medicine for healing purposes. What else can I talk to you about it? What else you want to know?
No,
beside
that's
enough.
That's enough.
Yeah.
I just wanted to paint a picture to people
No
who
problem.
don't understand spirituality or African spirituality, or have a very only Kemet and Yoruba view.
Okay.
You know, so I wanted to break it down so that everyone gets it, that there's
Yeah.
more than just those two, even though there is a lineage.
Yeah. In that also, we normally say that the African man's his natural state is when he's healthy, because our healing process or even our food, it has to do a lot of to maintaining our spiritual balance.
Okay. Right. So I'm going to go into a little bit more. But I want to. This is an off-the-topic question, but it will come into play at some point. What is your thoughts on interracial relationships?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't advise. I literally, I don't want to say I'm against it because how you come across in the country, the part we live, but I don't advise that. I don't advise it because, like I always say to people when they ask me this question, they asked me before, I said, eagle don't date a pigeon, but they're all birds.
Right.
You don't see a tiger get involved with a lion, but they're all cat.
Right.
Why? Because everyone want to maintain their species and keep growing and multiplying.
Cool. Understand. So, you put a picture in this book of you as a boy.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me your intention for this picture?
Sure, no problem. My intention, it was to remove the perception that is placed, especially in the West, in their mind regarding seeing an African child. As you can see on that set, if he looks like that, that means he's in poverty, he's uneducated, he's probably not well informed about life, or he's suffering.
Okay.
Of course, I described the picture. I said I was around geniuses, kids who I haven't even seen here in this country at that age. Looking back to the history, my own personal history, our sandals or our shirt, our short doesn't define our intellect.
Okay. Why did you need to explain it? So the intent is what I'm getting at. The intention of, because the book is about waking us up.
Yeah.
Us. But you explaining that book in terms of the poverty is now, you're now talking about white people to white people.
No, because African also perceive that. You'll be surprised, African perceive that, especially those who were born here in the West. Even for those who are from there, as in, for them, intellect is got to do with a way in a suit. For quite a few people. If I have a tie and a shirt, I must be sort of worthy, or I'm a smart person. But if I have just sandals and wearing short and a simple shirt, that something is wrong. And that's what I want to sort of polish, which is not true. The worst create perception that they give here, they also give it to us back home to be fed. And people back home also see.
So you're saying this picture right here, this one here, kind of page, bookmarked it. This picture right here needed explanation of wealth, class, and intelligence.
Yeah, it needed that. It needed because, yes, I remember when I showed this to my friends, some of them started to laugh. They start to laugh at the image. Oh, look at her, but I already, it's sort of like, you have to know, their doubt, their question, or what they perceive it straight away. I haven't even been discussing.
Because I'll tell you what I got when I first read it. I opened the book, first page, right? Because I'm a reader. I love to read books.
That's fine.
Right? I love more listening to books than reading it. But so I opened the first, but this is the first page to me. Okay, I'm like, okay, cool. I see the impact. Gold, black, I get it. I get what you're going there. I get the marketing aspect. I go to the first page. Okay, I got my content. I don't want to jump to the gun. What's on the first page? We're going to go through that. It's a whole other thing. And then I'm like, oh, this is nice. So as a Congolese born, I'm looking at this, and where I went with this was down memory lane.
Which was?
For me.
Yeah.
It took me back home. I went back home and I started thinking, oh my God, the summer, we'll break a pipe somewhere and just play with the water. We literally will just break a pipe and play. That's what it took me. It took me on a journey of the brilliant simplicity of life in Congo.
I like the word brilliant that you used.
Right. So I never saw poverty, nor did I see lack of intelligence or anything as such. So then I go to the next page where you start to explain, and then it kills it for me. Because I only saw great things here to begin with. But you gave me an explanation that just destroyed my thought process, or at least what the association I already had from first seeing it. I spent a good 10 minutes on this page thinking, oh yeah, I remember there used to be like school uniforms and this and that. I went into memory lane. So that's why I had to ask you the question as to what was your intent to explain in that picture?
Yeah, no problem. That's you as an individual.
Yes.
Bear in mind that we are in England, and can I be honest with you, people like you are aware, those who see Africa in that, and the perception that we perceive it, most of my readers will need that explanation. Because image is a powerful thing in a sense where it creates perception in our mind that can probably be false. But for us who knows that this is how life is supposed to be, or how simple, how brilliant it is, but the one from here, or most of them, they don't.
Okay, so again, another off the bat question.
Okay.
In relation to things that we already asked so far.
So no
Would you say you have a healing process with white folks? Or with poverty? Would you say there is some kind of healing to be done in that sense? Because as I read the book, there's a lot of references of what white people did. And I understand, to most part of it, that it's derived from eliminating or undoing, it's probably better, undoing the learnings that we've already learned through colonialism and such, yeah? So I understand that. But some of the referencing that you put in there, yeah, is very, very personal. Not very blanket, which is generalized. It's not generalized. It's very personal. They think this of us, which again, I'm not saying everything you said in there about white folks is that way, but some of it is very personal. So it made me feel, at least from reading it, like, raw, has this guy got a white issue? Is he all right with white people?
The term that people normally, for instance, if I, what's the word? If I call up on something, let's say some form of corruption, for example. Let's say politicians, let me use an example. If I call up on their corruption, how they do things, their field or their community will say, oh, you go problem with politicians, or you have some form of like healing to do. No, I don't. I'm just calling up your corruption, and that doesn't mean that there's some form of scar somewhere that is currently on a process of healing, so I am just uploading my pain. No, I don't think so. But people normally use that as sort of defense mechanism to sort of like black you out, to paint you, in other words, sort of crazy. You're something wrong with you.
Well again.
Let me finish that. However, to be very honest with you, yes, I resent some of them.
Okay. You see, I'm asking these questions because you felt the need to address them too often in the book.
Okay.
So my next question would be, who is your target audience? Because if you're teaching me, the audience that needs to wake up, then addressing them becomes null. Like, not even null. It's redundant in a way. Because why are you addressing them when you should be addressing me? You're teaching me. I'm the one that needs to wake up. I'm the one that needs this information. They don't. They already know this information, remember? Because from your words, they've put us in a situation through colonial, slavery, etc., where we think or believe we are cursed. Okay,
no problem. The drive of this book mainly, it was me trying to tell the story behind the story.
Right.
I'll explain that in what sense. You may not agree with this, but large majority of our people, especially where I'm from, Congolese people, their problems or their issues, according to them, it got to do with spiritual. is no man or no race of people has caused anything to us. It's the devil.
Right.
And we are cursed. Now, me bringing the true devils, those who did this madness, it was to dress the colonial powers.
Okay.
That's why I keep bringing them up, because it's them. It's not the guy with 2 horns. And I'm sure you've probably seen a picture of them with, I was trying to address what does it mean, the horns, etc. It's not to do with this mysterious man with a foot on fire in hell. He's causing all this, or he's the reason why our history went sideways.
Okay. That's a fair answer. So, back to the book.
Okay.
Did you format this book, or what formatting method or methodology did you design the book on, or how did you put it together? Did you do for example, if I had to put something together, I'll do a rough what I want to do, 10 points I want to make sure I go into it, and then I'll put maybe once I start writing it, I'll be like, actually, you know what, this needs to come out, and then I'll put them in order as to the beginning, the middle, the end. How did you format your book?
Yeah, sure. I wanted to place in a sense where I'll mention the issue is, the problem, what I identify, what I see, and then if you saw in my book, you see it says practical advice, which is I consider as a solution to the things that I was pointing on the top. And I went back there using chapter by chapter. I don't know if you saw, I was going down to areas of as one life, such as health, family, relationship, etc. You see addressed in the book. I wanted to sort of print out all these little issues in those areas and also offer a practical solution. So I set up in that sense. That's the format of it.
So then, with that formatting in mind, how did you choose your audience? How did you fit these categories to the demographics of the audience that you were trying to attract?
My audience, even before I started, I knew who I was trying to refer to, mainly, our people. The
so what do you mean by our people? Just clarify. Just
okay, no
watching.
problem. African, they are few.
Just continental, or are we talking black? So when you say Africans, you're just talking about born and bred?
African period. However, referring mainly to those who are Christianized. Because those of us who are awake, or those knows about this kind of stuff are quite few, not as many. And I really wanted to reach out, even for those, there are those in those sort of environment, they're trying to come out, they're trying to get some answers somewhere. These are the sort of people I had in mind. They are even for, in a way, say young African who don't know who they are, or they don't know what's happening in the world, or how do we end up in this situation. I was trying to address them, mainly them, rather than to those who already are aware of the information I get to offer.
So would you say, from your own words, in your own experience of the book and how everyone has seen the book or adapted to the book, would you say that your book can transcend cultures? Because you're talking about Africa like most people do. It's very easy off the tongue, but we're forgetting it's a lot of cultures.
Okay, I agree.
There's a lot of cultures. There's almost over 1 billion people and 56 countries. It's a lot of cultures and a lot of demographics within those cultures. Then you've got the multiple tribes. We've got 400 tribes alone in our country, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm saying, do you think that this book can transcend those cultures and those people?
This book can transcend the source of our cultures. It had a start, and the start the source that I have draw the information.
Transcending the source? What do you mean?
For instance, you said we have quite a few cultures in Africa, right? One of the most influential culture that influenced the ones we have now, it was Kemet. Kemet is, to me personally, is like the mothers of what we see now, even in our tribal ways, the culture, the way we did, for example, how we marry. They're all descended from Kemet. How do we treat a new baby born when it's born, for example? What are the process to do? What are the things to do for that, to kind of get the baby started on this world, for example? That all came from there. And I wasn't trying to what's the word? Give you what you was doing more than I wasn't trying to do that at all. But I want to sort of spark.
The question again. Let me rephrase it again. Can the book transcend cultures?
Yeah, it can.
So if
cultures or a culture.
Cultures or people. If I was in Ethiopia and I opened this book, will I relate to it?
Yeah, absolutely.
If I was in Benin and I opened this book, could I find solace in this book? You understand what I mean by transcend? Because it can't just be that because I'm Congolese, I can understand this book.
Yeah, I see you mean.
It has to be that, like you said, the continent, right? You said that your whole purpose of this book, when you're formatting it, is to appeal to Africans.
True.
So
I tried to.
If I'm a Moroccan man, right, who I'm not dark skinned, but I am an African, right? But my culture is considered, on the mainstream, totally different from the sub-Saharan Africans, right? Would I find solace in this?
I see.
You understand what I mean?
I see. Yeah, I did try to draw some form of information from different parts. Like I mentioned, those who sort of carried coaches, or those are mainstream characters such as Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, Mansa Musa of again the Songhai Empire, where Benin was, etc. I mentioned those from Egypt. I mentioned those characters to kind of draw quite Africans that I know. But if you mention, for example, Morocco, for example, no at all. I wouldn't say it would address the Moroccan.
Why not?
It would address the fact that there was once upon a time Moroccan who looked like us on that area.
It still is, but yeah.
It still is, but they light on a more sort of dominating that part of the area.
Just popularized, yeah.
This what?
They're popularized. They're not dominated. They're just popularized.
That's what the decision they gave us, sort of in that sense, is like the country is run by those who lighter than I am, etc. And the history is not. That's not true. And how did the lighter one who said himself, the Africans, Arab looking, the straight hair, how did they end up on that spot and start to dominate that part and run in that country? That would be mainly it, but not to really dress them, because I don't see them, I'll be honest with you, I don't see them as Africans, even though they live in that part of the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. What authors are you friends with, or did you use?
Friends?
Hear me out.
No
what
problem.
authors are you friends with, or know, and did you use them for proofreading or editing through this process?
I didn't use any author for proofreading or for editing process. No at all.
You don't know any authors either? I'm assuming that when you embark in something like this, that you reach out to a couple of hims and hers, and you kind of talk through literature basically.
No, I've been
guys, I've got this idea. You've already done it. What do you think? Or I've done this already. Have a look and tell me what you think.
No at all, in a sense where, for example, I did most of my learning on my own, and I didn't feel there was a need of me reaching out to someone else and to get them to, like you said, the process of
proofreading.
Yeah, but I did pay professionals to proofread my book about twice.
Oh, I'm interested now. What kind of professionals did you use to proofread?
I went on the internet, I found some professionals who just proofread my stuff and edit it often for me.
Okay.
Honestly, is that two of them? But I picked African because I feel like they will understand what I was trying to deliver in my book. So it was some black professional I did.
That was important. That is important for you, for them to be black.
Yeah, it was important. It was absolutely important because they will understand the context I'm trying to bring out. And I did. Sometimes one word can change the whole story the picture you're trying to paint. So I was very careful about it. I wanted whatever words I placed in there has to be there in a way that I wrote it. If it was poetic, if it was in a way that formal, if it was the word was harsh, if the words was not formal, like some feedback I received lately about, you use quite informal language, and say, yeah, I want it to be informal. I want it to be that way.
I'm going to go into the book now. and I'm glad you kind of segued me into this. We'll start with that. My thing with the formal and the informal of the book is that it wasn't consistent, either or.
Okay, I agree.
It wasn't consistent.
I agree.
And I know you're going to tell me that was your intent, but it misconstrues your mind, because as a reader, I want to read the book as one thing, okay? Because I know this book is going to tell me it's about slang and it's going to talk slang, right? For example. Then I'm going to go into it expecting slang, and I'm just going to go, oh, cool, slang. I'm going to read it. Oh, yeah, what's that? And I get it, because you're speaking to me because I understand slang, right? If you're going to go in there and talk and write it in Lingala, for example, in terms of Linguish, right? I understand Linguish, right? You know, that's Lingala in English, right? So I'll understand that. I'm like, yeah. But when you go into it, there's certain parts in there when you go in and you're using certain words like furthermore, therefore, more for. I'm like, well, hold up. I understand these words, but you're catering to people who, to your words, barely read. As in, not that they can't read, they're just not readers. So words like that confuses the situation, don't you think? No,
not at all. I'm glad that you brought this up. There's academic people, when we were in school, we used to write so that we can be corrected. So our teachers. We wrote in academic sense. We wrote in a way that they will be approved by what we consider as superiors. And then we were never taught how to write outside academic sense. And we were never taught how to write to a particular community. We were never taught that every community has a code in how they process information and how they want it. And one, I think, I'm not remember his name, he said, the readers are not interested on how amazing, oh my goodness, you use the full stop correctly, you use the comma correctly, this and no, they care if this what you're writing has any value, and if it was persuasive and it means something to me.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm getting there.
Hang on. Slow down.
You're not letting me to explain at all.
I will, but I want to give you this before you give me your explanation. So this is the first just sentence. Yeah. Let me just do that. Your acknowledgement, right? It's not a lie. You're not. It's a lie. You're not cursed, right? And then you put acknowledgement. First and foremost, right? I want to thank myself for writing a book that I've always wanted to read. Okay. Then you put secondly. I want to thank myself for being strong and not giving up on my dreams. Then you put thirdly, I want to thank myself, right? So you're talking to an audience. Okay. Right? It's nothing wrong with you thanking yourself, but you're talking to an audience. In here, I'm not getting the idea where your acknowledgements are anything outside of the typical acknowledgement that I could relate to.
The typical one.
Yeah, because remember, I'm typical because you're trying to make me wake up.
Exactly, typical one. Okay, there you go. I can't wake you up with the same information. Some old information won't open new doors. I have to come with something new. Let me address that part of the sense there. There was a man who saw my book, for instance. He said to me, "Pamphil, your book, I saw it online. I wanted to get it, but I'm not sure. You're kind of person who's into this. You know how they talk into deep spiritual stuff, etc. I said, really? I give it to him, open it. He read acknowledgement, said, oh my goodness, this is funny. Like, why you dressing yourself like 3 times already? You know what, this time there's something. And he bought it because you read acknowledgement in the style or in the content, the way I pull it on. It draws you, it makes you want to question. It's not your typical way of acknowledgement. I wanted to bring something new. Again, second thing also is that we was taught to follow rules. Like there's so many rules in how you should construct a book. And famous writers who have actually wrote books, they say things like, there's no rules to follow. My saying is, it was once upon a time I was in school, I remember being young. I read something in a newspaper, and then my teacher was talking about how, again, how to write, the text of it, etc. I said, miss, in the newspaper it was not like that. Hold on, I'm getting there. It was not that in a newspaper. You're teaching me to write in this way even though the newspaper trying to cater to an audience, but they didn't write it in a sense where it's like, she said to me, these people have learned the rules so they can break the rules.
Right, and I agree with that. Because you need to know how to drive a car before you can become a race driver.
Absolutely.
Right, so you can do your own stunts and all of that kind of stuff. For example, we're using driving as an example.
Yeah.
But you actually need to learn how to drive.
Yeah.
So I get that, but you're talking about you were teaching us something. I'm just going by. So at one point you talked here on that one sentence very formally and very much. Therefore, first and foremost, it's all me. I get it. Cool. Most writers are vain too. Most writers are have big egos. I'm not even questioning it. I don't really care too much about that. That carries on to the book. That's what I read most. Michael Max is a very ego guy. So I read most of these books because I liked that. But then you went into LOL. So you didn't stick to anything. But in the way you speak, you don't speak with LOL.
No,
so why are you confusing the readers?
I'm not
because right now, as an author, you don't speak like that. When I'm reading, what you're saying to me is you wanted to appeal to the audience in a way they will understand. Then give me one format, because you've given me formal. Then straight in the same in less than 2 sentences later, you gave me informal, and not even just informal slang.
I give my audience
text slang even.
Absolutely. Yeah. I give my audience what I think they should get. Now, in a sense where even knowing them how they operate, even knowing what I did that because my job is not to give it's not to give people communicate ideas. It's to change their perception. Now, if I'm coming to change the perception, I will do it anyhow I perceive I should do it, not the way the world has set up. Hold on.
But hold on. I have to interject.
No worries.
In your same words, language has rules, regardless of whether you want to use words you want to use. But in order to make me see the picture in which you are talking right now, you still have to use words. Okay, so in the words that you're using and how you use the words, they're still gonna. That is everywhere and anywhere you go, right? Just because English has many words than to Lingala, for example, or Kikongo Chiluba, it does not mean that there is not an underlying rule to follow. Just because you want to break the rules, it means you can't follow rules. There is still a rule. There is still where I need to read this book and be like, I get it.
I agree. I agree on what you're saying. However, the outcome of so far what I've gained from him, most of my readers was impressed in the way, just the way I written the book in that manner, the way I LOL, for example, they enjoy that. Okay. And what matters is, did they process that? They didn't process the information. They did. And that's what I wanted to achieve, even though in the style that you're not so used to seeing.
But don't you think that takes away from what you wanted them to actually take away? You don't want them to take... Your thing at the beginning here, you said you wanted them to take away the vision of being cursed. So them taking this page first, if this is the first thing that they put in their mind as a takeaway, or the only reason why they bought the book, then they're only going to read, I'm assuming obviously. Absolutely. They're only going to read this book in a sense of, there's more like this to come. Okay. It's good for them to buy the book, which is fantastic. It's a how can I put a trigger? It makes you buy the book. But your first thing was you wanted to change, based on this title right here when we started, you wanted to change the mindset of what we've already been taught from slavery and colonialism. So the first page takes away from, doesn't that contradict? No, it doesn't. To you, it does. Bear in mind that you said you're a constant reader. You're a person who is so into this literacy at our cost, for example, I would say. But to the audience I wanted to appeal to, I had to come across on that way for them to perceive. For example, apparently lately there's been a research that people's focus level is going down. Like a 15-year-old should sit down and read for an hour, for example, is rare. They get easily distracted. But they will spend a lot of time on the phone, texting and reading things online. Most likely it will be informal stuff like we see on Instagram, Twitter, for instance. And for them able to capture them, to get their attention and for them to process what I'm trying to offer, it has to be in that sense. I'll give one perfect example. I showed my colleague at work
Dr. Francis' book, and she written that book in the way is, oh my goodness. For me to read that book, I would need a dictionary next to me so that I can process what she's trying to say to me. And then I remember showing him this thing, and he was like, I can't even read this. Because just use simple words. It's not about me trying to give them this word, it's for them to process it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking, because in terms of processing, you've gone in using too many formats. Because in processing, like you said, simplifying. Simplifying makes people understand things easier. So, like you just said, they know, teenager,
Example,
they read things on Instagram and Facebook in a simple term. So why not just stick to the simplicity of the book rather than going through 5 different ways of writing the book, 5 different words for saying how? Why not just use how? Because they already know how, and they relate to that, because it's 3 letters only, you know? Whereas you bring in other words of 15, 16, 17, you know, it might just, I'll put it down.
I also wanted to sort of like place words that will cause them to research it. Like, for example, one woman said to me, you just taught me a new word, like word allegory, I never knew existed.
Okay.
And she literally went on and researched that. And I also had that in mind. I wanted to place that. Even though I was, like I said, inconsistency, it was there, but it was purposely done for the sake of them grabbing their attention and also keeping informed at the same time, so they can learn new things while I'm going. That's how you sort of make the book entertaining.
Oh, well, I thought this was more of education, not entertainment.
Yeah, education can be perceived through entertainment also.
But the way you approached it wasn't that way.
It was what?
The way you approached it.
The way
in your
I
own words, you approached it in terms of intellect, not in terms of entertainment.
But
your words, you wanted to bring intellect, our intellect, back into our minds,
absolutely,
and remove the intellect of the oppressors off our minds. So you weren't approaching it for entertainment. When I asked you about how you formatted this, you didn't say, I formatted it to make it as entertaining as possible.
I didn't say the word possible. I said I wanted to also
I'm saying you didn't say that. I said you didn't say you wanted to make this book entertaining. You wanted to make this book intellectual.
Yes.
Right. So the entertainment pack, you've just said it now, but from the moment when I asked you about how you formatted the book, there was no entertainment that went into the planning of the book.
I understand, yeah.
You understand what I mean?
So I added now
you
that I
that
wanted to also sort of entertain why I was passing on the intellect. Okay, I did now, no problem.
So, the other thing I wanted to touch on is I actually was enjoying the first paragraph, the first few pages. I was enjoying it.
Oh, you enjoyed something in there?
Oh, no, I'm scrutinizing it because I actually like the book. But I can't just go and say, I don't like it, I like it, and then give you an easy ride.
I understand. No.
We got to break you down just like everybody else will when they come on the show. Right, so I got extremely frustrated because you took me on a journey of understanding numbers. Again, I am one of those people that probably very few who already knew about this. But at the same time, I was enjoying going down that route because somebody else giving me a perspective of something I already know. But then you cut it short. You put me too short. It was all too short. You're talking about numbers, then you cut it. You cut it. You didn't even give me 2 pages.
Which part can
We're talking at the beginning where you start talking about letters and alphabets. Then you stop. Letters, alphabets, numbers, then you stop. And then it stops there, and then we go, that's barely 2 pages. Then we go to a whole other context. What are you doing to me? Like, why? And this was very consistent in the book. It was all very short. Yeah. It was almost like, I'm coming to a party, and someone says, olea fufu and olea fufu, but people go, lutu moko. Hey, papa, lutu moko ga fufu. It's not, no.
I just...
Oh, pensando fufu pensando the whole thing. Apprende na tonda, apprende bakse na sono bi no baksate no leka so siko. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And for those of you who don't understand what I just said, tough.
No. This sounds really harsh. I don't write so I can give it away. I write to sell it. Wait, hold on.
I want to pull you back on that.
Hold on. Let me finish.
Go ahead. Finish your point. Because I just pull you back. But
I know. Yes, to educate. However, once again, I said I don't get paid to give it away. I get paid to sell it. That's what I'm a businessman. Authors are business people. Hold on, miss. Hold on. Now, if I say to you, by the way, I'm having a continuation of this book, and I'll include even more about numbers and letters. What more that I wanted to give on the second part. I will get into it in depth. Yeah, you look forward for that because that was the best part of. No, that's one part that you enjoy the most.
No, I wouldn't, because you know why?
Why?
I would know that you're going to do the same thing. Because let me give you if I'm reading a book about Machiavelli, for example, which I'm reading at the moment, it's about Machiavelli, the context of finance. Cool. I know all I'm going to get is about finance. But if I'm reading about Machiavelli in terms of political power, then I know I'm going to get Machiavelli politically. So I'm going to go, I'm going to buy that now because I read the finance. Okay. But I'm not going to go into reading about the finance and then halfway through the finance he starts talking about football. I'm like, yeah, bro, I signed up for the finance. You gave me 2 pages of finance and now you start talking about football. For example, you know, I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy the other topics that came after it. It's just saying that you gave me a cup half full.
You wanted more.
The subjects are so heavy that giving only a small snippet is not enough for a mind who has never been awakened. Because remember, I read. I have searched my history all the way to my lineage. However, the person you said is your readers or your target audience don't know. They are still sleeping. Those Christians who are still sitting there, like you said, who don't know to come out of Christianity or the truth about Christianity that you know, they don't know.
I've heard the terms of less is more.
Yes.
I've heard the term. Okay, now let me sort of elaborate on that sense. I also had in mind if I gave, just a bit more, it would be too much for not you. I didn't have us in mind. You know what I mean? I didn't have our conscious community man. I had them in mind. They weren't able to swallow everything that I wanted to offer because I have a lot to give. I had a lot to write, a lot to say. So I had to keep it short. In certain part, I had to keep it short. I had to. And again, you ain't the first to complain about that.
I'm not complaining.
No,
I'm not
to print it out. You're not complaining. If you feel like exactly, I gave you 1 lutu. You wanted 2. Yeah. It's a complaint.
That's what it is. That's not a complaint. That's me saying, that's what I'm trying to say.
I know. Once again.
And Luba and the fufu.
But I had to. It was needed on that set because it would be too much for their mind to bear. Not for you, but for their mind to bear.
Okay, I get it now. I get where you were coming from. Okay, so then let's go back to the church again.
Okay.
This obsession with the church. I call it obsession. You can correct me.
No, I agree with you. It's obsession.
Because there is too many
references.
Too many references. I counted about 20 and I stopped counting. I was like, okay, bro. Stop.
All right, no problem. Yeah.
There is a lot of biblical chapters in here. There's a lot of this. Lucifer has been mentioned quite a bit. Lucifer's in there quite a lot.
Early on in the book.
He's in there quite a lot. No,
not toward the end.
He's in there quite a lot. I mean, I stopped counting from here. Yeah. This is where I stopped counting.
If you keep going now, you won't find it anymore.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, so why?
I'll be further.
And then the word Christianity carries on quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that Christianity is the basis of our blindness. Yeah, it's literally the core. But again, you're trying to wake us up from that. I would have assumed that the way to go about it was to more give more weight to things that aren't Christian. As to say, this is actually all right. For example, this deity, this Kemet practice, this Yoruba practice, or this Yoruba culture, or this Kush culture, or this do you want to say Musa Mensa?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it have been more? Again, go.
I'm the right. No worries, no problem. Why did and I just want to address that on people's feet. Normally, I have come across and say, "Oh, you're very obsessed with Christianity." Yes, I am. The greatest. I am. Why is it? Because they said apparently the greatest story ever told is that.
Is what?
Christianity is. Jesus is the Bible, the greatest story ever told. Why is the greatest story ever told?
There's a lot of stories in the Bible, so which one is the greatest?
The greatest, the whole book, the whole Christianity is all a story, like one line story.
So it's a book of books.
It is a book of books. However, they all relate. They correlate from Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah, it's like Star Wars. The longest.
That's that.
You're gonna hit me today.
Yeah, no problem. But it all relates. The Old Testament, Old Testament, New Testament, it all relates, and it's like one story is carry on.
Okay.
It's the greatest, according to those who heard before us, is the greatest story ever told. It's also the greatest story ever sold. And the Bible is sort of the book that is sold the most in this world. So what I'm obsessed with that, what makes it so, how these stories is able to capture one nation's mind. How, you know, so for example, Jesus, for example, how is they able to use those stories in Bible and make people a slave? That's fascinating to me personally. And now, indeed I am. However, I'm aware of how Christians are. In case you don't know, they're very doubtful people. They are. And they are very, in other words, in denial about it. But I know that's not. Being a shepherd according to their language, I know the sheeps. Okay.
So I'm going to go out of there again.
No problem.
I'm conscious of time. You spoke about Kimpavinta.
Kimpavinta.
Yeah? And you referenced here a quote, Congolese prophetess. I don't even know if that's actually a gender thing. It's actually just prophet. I do believe that it's genderless. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is, you said she's an Nganga. I want to understand, because I asked you earlier about this using Christianity terms with African terms. So how is Nganga a prophet?
Nganga is a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it means Nganga means a healer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ayuko, she was a healer.
She was a prophet, considered a prophet.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to bring the African away from the Christian.
Okay, I see.
Because we're doing a lot of mismatch where we're saying this person was Nganga. Nganga is a completely different thing when you're looking at it from an African perspective in the original text of it.
So I gave
so when you give that example to someone like me, it straight away sticks out like, whoa, Nganga is a whole different thing. Prophets, that's Christianity, and that's a whole different thing. They both essentially heal, but we're talking about two different practices. They wouldn't consider themselves as prophets.
Yeah, but if I say Nganga to you, is acceptable, because you know what that is a healer.
Yeah, to me it's acceptable because I understand the word, but I wouldn't call Kipavinta Nganga.
Okay, you wouldn't call it.
No,
I will, because she was a healer. She was healing our people in that time, our pain, our mental blisters. She was healing the nation at that time. That's what they wanted out of the moment at time. They wanted it out because she was healing us in that manner that she was doing. But I use prophet because they will understand that. It's more accepted to them.
Fair enough.
And you see, I sort of like put a back here around Nganga. I think I did.
You did.
I did that.
You put it.
And then so that I can explain what that is also, because to them Nganga is a witch.
Okay. No, yeah, I understand. That's the teaching. So, last few questions.
Okay.
There's loads of pictures in here.
Okay.
That I felt needed explaining.
Okay, no problem.
This is one of the prime examples.
Okay.
Right? This is a lot of heavy context here.
Absolutely.
But no explanation.
Okay.
Or at least very little. In terms of just a couple of lines. But to again, your own explanation of the people that are reading this don't have. I read this and I already know. I know where that comes from. I've seen this before. Do you understand what I mean? Yeah. But the people that don't know, it's like, why'd you leave it so empty?
Because I didn't want to be just this source of them knowing everything. Part of my intention for them to also to do their own research. For them to do their own research on what that is. And as I would put it there, my intention is for them to trigger them to research what that is.
So wouldn't it have been wiser then to put the places where they can find this information on there? So you wanted to trigger it. So if I've been triggered as I've never learned anything about Africanism or anything about Africans, and then I see this page, I'm like, okay, I bet, first of all, I'm skeptic. So I'm like, I bet he's chatting nonsense. I bet he's lying. I bet this doesn't even exist. Let me go and find it. But I don't have any information to find it.
Before that, you'll see the name of it. Before, if
remember you said simple minds.
Yeah.
Simplify it for them. So if I'm 16,
Okay.
right, and I'm on Instagram and I need to go find so and so's page, they just give you
Fair enough, I agree.
a straight link.
I agree with that.
I'm looking at it with my eyes, and I'm looking at it. Okay, I totally understand it, but if I was one of them, would I understand it?
I agree with you.
Would I go straight into
Uh-huh.
Anyway, that's that. I'm gonna come into the learnings of the book first. So. Okay. And then I'm going to conclude with the positives of the book. Because believe it or not, I actually like the book. I just have...
I understand.
The learning I got from this book is that it needed to be 10 books. And I'll explain why. It needed to be 10 books because there is far too much ingredients in there for it to just be one soup sort of thing. Because you have quite a lot of great content in there. But I think you've done it an injustice by giving it all in one book. And that's what I'm frustrated about. So why did you put all of this in one basket? Split it so you have a beginning, a part, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Because there is so much in there that when you start talking, like I said, I was in on the numbers of the letters, even though I know, but I was in. But I was like, okay, give me this book and then give me the next chapter, that book. Again, you could still give me 15 of that letters and numbers chapter, and I'll still go and read them all because it's intriguing. They're all very intriguing stuff. What do you think about what you said there?
I mean, I had to. It was again my first book. I wanted to sort of let's say like to use in terms of put my foot in the game they call it, and I had to trying to capture quite a few, audience or capture people's mind, quite many minds that can. Feedback is some people like this, they like this chapter the more, like this chapter the more, like that. So I sort of kind of cater to all.
Everyone.
Yes.
Yeah, it came across that way. That's what I think I'm trying to say. It came across that you're trying to please everybody.
Not please.
Well, yeah, you said the word cater.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're pleasing everyone, but it's fine to also say, you know what, even with minimalizing and maximizing on this one specific subject, I will still be able to capture you because you will like this too, and you'll come back for the next one where we'll talk about science.
The question is, the question I'm receiving constantly is, would you write more?
Oh yeah, I know you are going to write more.
And I know it comes because of how they read the book. Is they ask me if they'll offer more information. One guy said to me, especially the last chapter, can you like...
But then, see, with that same question, offer more information, it comes back to what I just said about they're too small. They're so heavy, it's too small. You needed to go into a little bit more depth. I'm not saying go into a whole full 1,000 page. I'm simply saying a little bit more than just 2 pages of a topic like, say, numbers. Because there is a lot of people, like I have an uncle, who, when just one day having, driving it, and I was talking about, we've got letters. He's like, what do you mean we've got letters? I'm like, yeah, we've got African letters and whatever. Because I was talking about a tattoo. I was like, I'm going to have a tattoo. I'm going to write my niece's and nephew's name on my, but I'm going to use African, letters. And he was like, what are you talking about? You talking about, Egypt? And I was like, no, I mean like proper Congo stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was like, no, that doesn't exist. I'm like, it does. So I got out my phone, boom, here you go, there it is, right? So he is, middle-aged man, never seen it before. So you can imagine how he's thinking. He wants to see more proof because he was digging me. It doesn't exist. You don't know what you're talking about. You're still young. I had to, because mine is just on my phone, right? So I was like, here it is, bam. If you don't believe me, go to this website, that website, and that website. In fact, no, let's just go to the British Museum and you see it there. You see what I mean? So there's a lot of people who just don't have a clue, and they're way older. How do we get them to...
I know what you said. I would say you want it again. Back again, you said you want me to just give a little bit more. That's what you keep.
Yeah, because you said the other person said to you they want more information.
They want,
so isn't that the same thing I'm saying?
I get that. Once again, I said I don't get. What's the word? I don't get paid to give things away.
No, you are a writer.
But a writer is a businessman.
You're a writer first. Business comes within what you've written. What you've written so far has made people want to buy it. But if you gave us more information, we'll still buy it too. It's your power to draw us and part with our money is what you've written.
And then the question
And
is,
how you written
have I drawn people into me?
You've drawn. I've paid for it.
And of course, you are, again, like a customer who is giving feedback how I should get more, which is, I understand. But it was purposely done that way for the sake of...
But this is the learnings that I took from it. And this is why I'm saying that most people who are going to read it, like me, are going to come back with the same learnings. But you already just alluded to one of them says they want more information.
Absolutely. I mean,
so
quite
there
a
are
few
quite a few people that want more information. So
absolutely.
there is a part of this that needed to give more context. Or more and more, I need to learn more. What is this you're talking about?
You'll receive more people.
You understand what I mean?
You'll receive more. You'll receive more.
On a positive note, I think it's a really good book.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I criticize every single thing. So
that's fine.
This is nothing to do with anything. If I don't criticize you, that means I don't care.
No, that's true. I agree with you.
It's true. There is a lot of great things in there, but they are far too powerful for just, like I said, minimal, bite-sized, shots. I think it needed to be simplified, formatting-wise, language-wise. So if you're gonna go informal, just stay informal all throughout the book. I'll still read it because I still read informal books.
That's just you.
I read The Sun.
In particular, I say that I can't go by what's the word? The rules that are set.
Rules.
No, that sounds very academic the way you're saying that now. And
is it?
Yeah.
If you're writing a book, if I'm reading a book of jokes, and then they start talking about World War II, and they start telling me about what happened, why we unless there's a joke in them, but I want to read a book about jokes though.
No.
Are you going into a whole different?
But it's the way how you tell the story. Okay, I can't just, for example, if we're telling a serious story, for example, some would say just be serious because it's a serious story. So can I just put a little joke in there?
Oh no, but that's what I'm saying. If you're gonna write this book as a non-serious book, then just write it that way.
No, it wasn't a non.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna write it serious, then stay serious. If you're gonna write it jokey, do joke. I don't mind.
People learn in different ways.
Oh no, too.
And I wanted to include that in there also.
So I want to know then,
what
are your positives from this book? Not from what people have told you, but just from your experience with writing it, and obviously having sat here with me.
My experience so far is that I'm just I'm happy the fact that I broke the rules a lot on the writing style.
Nice. You like breaking rules, don't you?
Yeah, I think it was a habit I really like. I like it. I get a lot from when I break the rules. Anyways, furthermore, I broke the rules a lot on my writing style.
Yeah.
I made some people, some people kind of like, why do you do? Some are happy actually I broke the rules, made it easy for them to understand. What thing is also is that I was quite surprised how many has actually paid attention to it. Again, in my first experience, I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. I never written a book before first time. I don't know how it come across to people. But those who have received the book, receive a lot of positive from it. So I personally, I'm happy with the work that I produced.
So right now, what would you say, looking at this camera over here, to a young person who is perhaps got the idea in their head, perhaps thinking about it, perhaps maybe they've already got something written down, how should they approach it?
First of all, forget about the rules. If you go start it down, forget about the rules. The rules, it will literally frustrate you, it will keep you in a box, it will even cripple you from presenting your piece of work because you're worrying so much about the book, or what Auntie Charlhene will say, don't worry about that. Let Auntie Charlhene read the piece of work, even if she may say a few things, however, or more things that she will can enjoy it. It's not about the text, it's about if it's valuable. Like she said, there's a lot of powerful contents in there, and that made me smart.
There's a lot of valuable stuff in there.
Same thing also to you who are watching. Just focus on the value of it, and that's all.
Okay, so you dedicated the book to your ancestors.
Yeah.
Look into the camera again and speak to them. How would you address them in what you have accomplished with the book?
Once again, just thanks to them, their sacrifices. I was never taught to thank them because we was taught they're dead and gone, and whatever they did.
You get your opportunity now, so thank them.
Yeah, that whatever you have done, it had no value. Is what this Jesus man have done for me, that's what mattered the most. But what you have done didn't care. So the fact that I was able to dedicate this to you, I just hope I hope all of you, and I know you're listening to me right now, you're proud of me. The fact that I'm taking this initiative that many will fear to do, many will fear to challenge, and carrying on in your footsteps, like we say, Bokoko. Bokoko is to follow the footsteps of the ancestors, and I hope that you're all proud of me and where you are.
Well, I'm going to conclude with this. I admire you for taking that step.
Thank you.
And do not get confused by my drilling. I'm drilling where I'm thinking everyone else who has a critical opinion of the book or has a negative opinion of the book may want to hear some of these questions. However, like I said, my conclusion is the book has got a lot of good stuff in it. There's a lot of meat there. But you just didn't cook that, that bundu needs a little bit more splitting and whatever. But no, I'm playing. No, in all honesty, these are my personal opinions. But for everybody else, I would encourage everyone to get the book.
I appreciate that.
Because I feel like there's a chapter in there that might trigger a point.
Yeah.
There's definitely a chapter that might trigger. There might even just be a phrase that might trigger something, or even just one of the pictures. But don't be swayed. More importantly, it's written by a Congolese brother, okay? And the other thing is that our stories are best written by us.
I agree.
So whichever way it comes across, whether it comes across that needs critique or not, in fact, everything needs critique. I like the book, so everyone should get the book.
I appreciate that.
Really because there is something in there for everyone, definitely. If you like your LOLs, it's in there. If you like your therefore, it's in there. If you want to see just pictures, it's all in there too.
It's in there. Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Goodbye. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for being with me today. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm gonna get up now. Thank you. Ooh.